Hello, this time I'm going to show you some stretches to keep you really loose around the lower back and the pelvis. Really important that this area stays flexible, especially into your lower back here, into the lumbar spine, to keep the 5 vertebrae that make that up and their connection with the middle and the upper back nice and freed up. So especially when you're doing a lot of sitting or you're lifting, moving things, maybe standing for long periods during the day, those areas over time can get really fixed. So it's very important for everything that we do, whether it's walking, changing position, playing sport, sitting, that this area stays nice and flexible. So I'm going to show you some stretches for around there, and I'm also going to show you some things to keep this area around your glutes, your backside and into the front of the hips flexible as well. Okay, so let's start in standing. I'm going to come back to here, and what I'm going to get you to do is put your hands on your hips and just really, to start with, get nice circling around. This is a nice easy exercise to do. Feel your feet rooted onto the ground, and it's just great for getting everything a little bit warmed up, a little bit freed up. Whilst you're doing this exercise, you can start to tilt the pelvis a bit forwards and backwards. Go about 3 in each direction and then change direction. So it can be nice and brisk. It's a bit of a warm-up. It's something that you can do if you're doing a bit of sitting. It's something you can do if you're doing quite a lot of standing during the day. It's a good one to do when you first get out of the car, when you first wake up in the morning. In China, you see lots of people out first thing in the morning doing this because it's supposed to be good for the kidney qi, the kidney energy in this lower abdominal area. So it's a great exercise just to start to get everything moving. And if you can, bring a bit of a pelvic tilt in with it, so tilting backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. If you can bring that movement in, that's nice to do as well. But keep your hands on your lower back to keep your lower back nice and warm. And then just changing direction, nice big swings. It's everything starting to open up. It's a nice easy exercise to do, fit all the way around that movement. Okay, give your back a bit of a rub. Just give everything a bit of a shake out. It's always nice just to relax before we go into any exercises. I'm going to come forward to sit on the chair. So probably a lot of you do quite a lot of sitting during the day, whether that's driving or whether that's sitting at a desk or whether you're watching telly or using your computer, iPad, whatever, a lot of the time. So have a nice firm chair to sit on, come away from the back, make sure your feet are nicely rooted, and what we're going to do is just sit and slump. So rolling the pelvis forward, and this is a movement that's in the pelvis here and not in the rest of your body. So you're not doing this with your head, your eyes keep facing forward, looking at the horizon, sitting up as tall as you can and slumping down. So sitting up tall, pushing forward as far as you can, feeling the stretch as your back moves forward, and then slumping right down and feeling that stretch the opposite direction. So let's just do a few of those. This is such an important exercise. A lot of the people I treat with low back pain, I find it's because the lumbar vertebrae, the 5 vertebrae that are in the lower back, just get fused together almost. They just get sticky, and it's really nice, almost like a rusty bit of machinery, just to get them moving backwards and forwards, up and down. So the easiest way to do this is in sitting, because you can do it anywhere really, but we will in a moment look at it also in lying, because you can do it in that position as well. Just sitting and slumping. This is something to do little and often during the day. Whenever you're sitting, you can do it when you're driving, you can do it when you're sitting at your computer. And bring your attention into your lower back and feel that movement starting to come through those individual bones, individual vertebrae. Good. You don't need to do it for too long, but it's better to do it a lot during the day, whenever you think about it. Give your lower back a good rub and come around to the front here, make sure it feels nice and warm. So the next stretch that we're going to go into It's a stretch with big muscle in here, the piriformis muscle, which is right deep in your backside. It allows you to sit cross-legged, it allows the hip to rotate outwards. So you're going to take your foot up onto your knee, your opposite knee, like you're going to sit cross-legged, and you're going to push down. Now this is one of these big muscles, so we need to keep the stretch going for a minute at least. It's a stretch I really need to be doing because I'm pretty tight. And some of you may find it easier than I'm doing. And we're just going to press down and hold that stretch for a minute. So feel it, you'll feel it coming up into your groin. You might feel it a bit into your backside. You might feel it spreading down into the upper part of the thigh. But it's really important to keep this muscle opened out. Very often people who think they've got back pain have actually got tightness in the piriformis muscle. So this is a nice stretch just to really open it out. Like all the big muscles in the body, we need to hold it for a minute. Keep pressing down, keep a nice steady pressure. And as you work into it, you should find that your knee drops just a little bit. Try and relax into the stretch. And just release it slowly. Stretch your leg out a little bit before you go into the next one. Just bend and stretch. And then we're going to come over and do exactly the same thing on the other knee. So get your ankle supported on the opposite knee. This one is really tight on me on this side because I had an accident on this side a few years back. So I need to do lots of these stretches. So pressing down, keeping your posture nice and straight. Make sure you keep your weight evenly on both sides of your pelvis, so you're not lifting up and moving over to one side. Feel that really nice and even, and keep a nice steady pressure on there. Again, we're doing this hold for a minute. You'll feel that stretch coming up into the pelvis, into the groin, down around the knee. Hold it nice and steady. Keep that gentle pressure on. You should feel the knee starting to drop a bit as you do it. Don't push it too hard. With all these stretches, just work into them slowly, do them each day, and they will get a lot better. They will get easier. Good, and take the pressure off that one, and again, bend and stretch. See how you feel. Do a little bit more tilting up and down. Always important to connect everything together as you go through the stretches. All of the system, we're stretching individual parts of it, but they all function together when we're moving. So have a stand up again. Have a little bit more of a hip circle. It's good to observe what's changing, just note the changes. Stretching is best when it's done nice and slowly and you're integrating things together. Good, have a bit of a shake off. So the next one we're going to do is a stretch for the front of the hips here, for these muscles down the front. These can get really tight because we tend to, as we walk around, we tend to get a bit more like this, a little bit exaggerated, but we tend to get more flex, more bent in front of the hips here, and more bent, flex forward, bend forward in the shoulders here. In another film we're going to look at opening up the shoulders, but let's look at doing the hips at the moment. So to do the hips, I'm going to show you something in lying in a bit, but in standing you can do a lunge. So you're going to step forward first with the right leg, bend forward on the right leg, keep the left leg straight and push this left hip really far forward. Keep your heels down and you will feel that stretch coming into the front. And again, this is a big stretch, big muscle. The psoas iliacus at the front of the hip, we're going to really hold that stretch for a minute to open those out. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Keep pushing into the stretch. Keep nice and balanced. Feel your feet rooting onto the floor, your head pulling up. Let your arms be nice and relaxed. About halfway through the stretch. Hold on to it, push a little bit further as we go on. And come slowly out again. Have a bit of a move around, circle your hips a little bit. Just see how you feel. So for the other side, I'm going to do this sideways. So this time you're going to step forward with the right leg. Keep the back, the left leg straight. Come forward a little bit. Step forward with the right, keep the step forward with the left, keep the right leg straight. I'm getting confused around this pillar. And push right forward. Keep the knees straight and the back leg straight. And push right forward with that hip. Drop your shoulders. Keep nice and relaxed and feel that stretch all the way down the front. Hold it nice and steady. Again, we're going to hold for a minute. Sink down to it, into it a little bit more as you go on. Keep pressing into it. Really feel this front part of the hip opening up. And come slowly back out again. Have a bit of a move around. Have a little bit more of a hip circle. Both directions. And just stand for a moment and just see how you feel now. Feet rooted on the ground, head pulling up. How does your lower back and everything feel? Might feel a little bit sore in places, that's because you stretched it out. Okay, I'm going to show you now the same sort of similar things that you can do in lying. So when you come down into lying, always come down onto your hands and knees first. This is another position that you can do the pelvic tilting in. You may know it from yoga with the cat and the camel. So you're going to sink your belly down towards the floor and then roll it back up. When you're in this position, make sure you're in a nice square. So 90 degrees straight elbows at the shoulders, 90 degrees at the elbows, and the same here. So you don't want to be stretched out like this or two on top of it yourself. So nice stable position. Feel your hands on the floor, knees on the ground, and you're just tilting up and down. You can probably get a bigger movement here, but it's not as practical as when you're doing it in sitting or driving. Sitting at your desk or sitting in the car. So loosen things up, doing a few of those. Curling right up, dropping your belly down towards the floor. Good. Okay, so from here we can come into another yoga position, which is the child pose. So if you come and you sit right back, open your feet out a little bit, sit right back onto your heels, and then you're just going to drop your head down. Now this stretches into the quads here. It also stretches the glutes and the top of the hamstring a bit too. So drop your head right down and just relax into it again. Feel into the stretch. Just relax for about 10-20 seconds. Good. And then come slowly out of that. We're now going into another stretch for the front of your hips here, a bit like the lunge, but we can do them both together in line. So, and similar stretch to what you do in yoga. I think it's the cobra. You're going to drop your hips down onto the floor, come right down, just relax for a moment. And then you're going to bring your hands under your shoulders, like you're doing a press up. But the idea here is that you keep your backside and your back and the back of your legs as relaxed as you can, and you're just going to push up on your arms. Let your belly drop towards the floor and straighten your arms up. And you, as your belly and everything relaxes and your backside relaxes, you'll feel that front of your hips again stretching out. Also a very good exercise if you've got sciatic pain. Keep the back relaxed. All the work is being done for your arms, so getting your arms fit as well. And you're just hanging on that as you drop down to stretch into the front of your hips and right up into the abdominals. But just make sure the backs of your legs and everything in your backside are staying really nice and relaxed. And again, we're just going to hold that for about 10-20 seconds. And relax down. Right down, let your arms go. Have a bit of a relax out of everywhere. Very good exercise if you have sciatic pain, because it lets your back come into a good position. Okay, we're going to do that once more. Hands under the shoulders. Make sure your legs and everything are relaxed. Push up hard on your arms and let your belly sag down towards the floor. And just hold that again. About another 20 seconds we're going to do. Focus on your hands. That's your connection this time with the ground rather than your feet. And allow your lower back to relax. And come back down again and relax. Let everything relax off. And then when you're ready, you're going to turn over onto your side. Roll over. And we're going to just finish with a couple of other stretches in line. So make sure you're nice and comfortable. Have a pillow under a cushion under your head. Feet nice and relaxed. Just relax into that position before you try to do anything. Check that your posture is good. And then we're going to come into the Piriformis stretch again, which you can do in this position. Make sure your pelvis stays nice and stable, that it's not rocking off the ground, that you've got the same balance position here. And you're just going to push forward on the knee again. So ankle on the opposite knee, like you're sitting cross-legged, and just holding that stretch like we did in sitting. Keep a nice long stretch on there. Probably isn't quite as strong as you feel in sitting. Might be a little bit easier in this position, so if you are very stiff, this is a good position to start in. Keep that stretch going. But make sure you're staying relaxed in your shoulders and everywhere else. Nice and steady here in the pelvis. And then let go gently again. Stretch that leg out and then bring it up, and we're going to stretch the other side as well. So ankle on the knee, keep nice and steady, don't let the opposite side come off the ground, and really stretch into that. Hold it again. Keep an eye on this opposite pelvis, it's quite easy to start rolling. Hang on to that stretch. Keep nice and relaxed though. And then slowly release it off. Stretch that leg out again, just stretch both legs, feel the ground supporting you. You can do a bit of a deep breath in just to relax, just observe how you feel again, a bit like you did in standing. And then when you're ready, the next one we're going to do is just to stretch these adductors, the muscles on the inside of your thigh. So you're going to turn your feet together, so the soles of your feet are together, and you're just going to let your legs drop out to the side and just relax. Again, for about a minute as they're big muscles, just to let them drop gently using gravity this time out towards the floor. Try and keep your lower back flat into the floor as you're doing that, so you need to engage your core a little bit, otherwise you'll end up very arched. So you want to keep nice steady bit of work going on to stop your pelvis tilting too far forward, keeping it flattened into the floor, and just let your legs drop out slowly to the side. Feel that stretch all the way along the inside. Relax into it, keep your breathing nice and steady. You can always take a deep breath and breathe out, which allows you to relax a bit more. But when you're doing these stretches, just make sure you're not holding your breath. Good, and then come up again slowly. Just have a bit of a move around, check how that feels. You can tilt your pelvis up and down a little bit from this position. You can bring your knee up to your chest, so long as you're all right doing that, if you haven't had a hip replacement or anything like that. Just do what is safe for you, and all these stretches need to be done nice and slowly. Don't rush into any of them. Try to feel your body as it's opening up and just stretching things out. So you should feel a stretch, but it shouldn't be really painful. Good. So the last thing we're going to look at is stretching down the outside of the leg here. This is very useful if you've got a tight band, the iliotibial band that runs down the side here. So if you're getting pain in the side of your knee when you're walking or you're running, or you're getting pain up near the hip here, which might be an inflamed bursa, a little cushion here which you can get inflamed. This is a nice stretch to do just to open that out if you're doing so more or even less exercise at the moment. So keep your knees bent up. You're just going to roll your knees over to one side. Keep your shoulder down. Turn your head in the opposite direction. And then take the top leg all the way over. Now, if this is really tight, you might have to work into this. But if you can stretch out, you get a nice stretch all the way down the whole of this outside of the thigh, around the outside of the hip, into the back of the glutes, and also into the side here. Just nice and slowly, just hold that stretch. Just slowly let your body relax into it. And then coming back again, bring your feet together and don't move your hips around or your feet. Don't change the position here. You're just rolling straight over. Turn your head in the other direction, the opposite direction to your leg. Straighten that leg out and again feel that stretch. Keep the shoulder down on the ground and relax into it. You should still be feeling the stretch down your side, round the edge of your hip and down towards the knee. And then come slowly back out of that again. Have a bit of a stretch out, both legs, both arms, just take them out, have a good stretch. Nice just to balance everything out. Relax for a moment, have another deep breath in through your nose, out of your mouth. Just observe again how you feel now. And then when you're ready, you can come back into standing. So roll over on your side, push up with your hands, come up onto all fours. This protects your back. And you're going to stand up from there. And then we'll just come back into standing, have a little bit of a shake around again, circle your hips 3 times one way and then change. 1. And just observe how you feel. Feet rooted, head pulling up so you've got a nice posture. And any of these stretches you can do little and often during the day. You can do them as a group like that together, or you can just use them to focus on areas that might get a bit uncomfortable during the day or places where you feel that you might be a bit tight.